Hey, welcome to No Code MBA and welcome to our to-do list tutorial using Glide. So in this tutorial, you're going to learn how to build a to-do list that has users. Then each user is going to have their own to-do list, which is going to have tasks that are unchecked and then tasks that are completed. If you want to learn more about No Code and Glide, check out the link below in the description, which is a link to our in-depth No Code tool guide. And if you want to take your skill set to the next level, check out our premium courses on No Code MBA. All right, let's get into the tutorial. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is go to glideapps.com. So just go to glideapps.com and create an account. And once you create an account, you're going to be here in the dashboard page. On the dashboard page of Glide, the main area that you're going to be concerned about right now is the projects area. There's other tabs where you can go into billing and usage and things like that. But for now, we're just going to worry about projects. And we're going to go ahead and click New Project. And in my case, I'm going to call this a to-do list demo. You can name it really whatever you want. And then how do you want to start building? Mobile or large screen. This is really just how you're going to be building it in the editor. The way that Glide apps work is that it's going to be responsive and work either in a mobile phone format or a large screen desktop or laptop format. So in my case, I'm going to say mobile as the way we want to start building. But later on, you can always switch it to large screen to see what it looks like on a larger screen. So I'm going to go ahead and click continue, and now we are going to select our source. So as you can see, there are a variety of different sources that you can use to connect to Glide. In our case here, we're going to use Glide Tables, which is the built-in data source with Glide that they say is best for performance. But you also can build Glide apps on top of other data like Google Sheets, Excel, or Airtable, which is also very useful to do in certain circumstances. But here we're going to use the Glide table. So I'm going to go ahead and click Create Project, and it's just going to load up a app for us. And here we go. We are now in our Glide editor. And on the left side, we have our navigation, our menu, components. On the right side, we have a lot of different kind of ways to edit the app here. On the top, we have our data tab here on the left, the layout, the editor here in the middle, and on the right, we have our settings tab. And you're going to become more familiar with all of these tabs as you build in Glide. So by default here, Glide has given us some data to work with, but we're going to delete it because we're going to build our app from scratch. So to do that, we're just going to go into our data tab. In our tables here, under things, I'm going to right click and delete it. So I'm going to delete the things table, and I'm also going to right click and delete the categories table. And I'm doing this in order to basically start from a blank app, start from scratch, so you can see what it's like to build an app on your own. Okay, so we're going to go back to the layout tab now. And then under navigation, this is basically the tabs that Glide created for us. Now there's no data because we deleted those tables. But I'm also going to go ahead and delete these navigation tabs. And I just want to start from scratch here. So now we have no navigation tabs and no data. So we've cleared it out. And we're going to add a tab here. And we're just going to select custom screen. In our case, we don't have any data yet to pull from. We don't want to create a users tab for now. So we're just going to create a custom screen. And I'm going to double click, actually go over to the label here on the right, and just label it home. And then I'm going to change the icon here. I'm just going to search for a home icon. Okay, great. So now we have a home tab, and it is a custom tab. And what a custom tab means is we're able to then add any components here on the left side that we want. If we chose a different style, such as a card style, it's going to pull in from a table. In our case, we only have the user table right now, so we would pull in from that user table. But the custom tab is going to allow us to add components, any components that we want to kind of customize the page. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that component. It kind of kept that there when we went to the style and went back. So you can go to the left side and delete it to clear it out. And what I want to do is, actually first let's go into the data tab and let's add a table. It's going to be a new table, and you can see you can sync data as well if you want, but we're not going to worry about that right now. We're just going to create a new table. And this table I'm going to call tasks. So this is going to be a table of the tasks that our users are going to put in their to-do list. So here, name we can keep, but we're going to add columns in the table, in our database for tasks, to add more fields that we're going to be able to save for these tasks. So I'm going to add a new column, which is going to be completed. And this is going to be a Boolean. A Boolean is kind of like a checkbox, and here you can see they added a checkbox. It's either yes or no. So it's either a yes or no data type here for completed. Okay, great. So we have the task name, and we have whether or not it is completed. Now what we're going to do is make one change to the user table here. And what we're going to do is add a unique ID, so that way we can connect tasks to an individual user of our app. So to do this, we're going to go into the tasks, into the user table here. So the user table. We're just going to go ahead and add a column. Under type, you're going to click on that drop down, search for unique, search for row ID. So just search for ID and row ID will come up. And we're going to hit done. So by doing this, Glide is going to automatically create a unique row ID for each user here. And now under tasks, we're going to go and add another column, and it's going to be user ID. And we're just going to make that a text field. And then we're also going to configure it as it is user specific, because it is a user specific field to the user ID. So user ID, type is text, configuration is user specific. So now let's go back to our layout tab. And what I want to do is add a component here on the top left. And we're going to add a component which is going to be a checklist. So here in the component tab, this is where you can add titles like text. You can add separators, you can add spacers, you can add things like a map or an audio recorder or a line chart. There's a lot of things that you can add here in this component tab here. But in our case, we're just going to go ahead and add a checklist. And then what's nice about the checklist is it by default is going to have this plus button here that's going to allow us to add to our to-do list. So we're going to go over to the right after we added this collection checklist. And the source here is going to be tasks. So we're going to pull in data from the tasks table, which is here the table that we just made, and that's going to allow us to pull in data there. The title can just be tasks. Under options, I'm going to go ahead and uncheck search bar. I don't want there to have to be a search bar here. And then in the actions tab on the right, here what we're doing, allowing users to add items. You can see that this is currently on, which is allowing us to add tasks. And if I uncheck this, that plus button would go away. But in our case, we want to keep that because we want people to be able to add tasks here directly from this checklist. Here, there's also the ability to allow users to edit items if we want, but I don't want that. I just want them to be able to add items. I'm going to do one more thing here, which is enable advanced actions. So here, what our app is doing is it's allowing us to click into the task. It's empty right now because it's just pulling in from basically an empty row here. I think if I actually add like go for a run, now we have that row and it should show up in the layout. So go for a run here as our task, and it's allowing us to click into it, but that doesn't really serve a purpose for us right now. We just want to build a simple checklist that's just showing the list that you can check on and off. So to do this, to get rid of that button action, we need to go to Actions, and under the actions, we need to enable advanced actions here. And what we're going to do is under item click, which is show detail for this item, we're just going to actually change that to none. So now when you click on that item, nothing happens. And this is cool because you can also add a lot of other actions if you want, which can be helpful depending on the type of app functionality that you want to build. But in our case, we're going to keep that unchecked and then keep it here on advanced. So if you switch back to default, that'll go back to the default, and then you'd have to go back to advanced to remove the item click as well. Okay, cool. So now if we go back to our general tab, and if we go and check this box, nothing is happening. So it is checking off. So if we go into our data tab, you can see under tasks, it is checking it off. So it's saving it in our database, but it's not actually removing it from our to-do list. So what we need to do is filter. So in our to-do list here, checklist, under options, we're going to add filter data. And what we're going to do is say when completed is not empty, it's going to show. So then if I check it off, it should be hidden. Actually, sorry, not empty. It's when completed is not checked. Is not checked because it's a Boolean, so when completed is not checked. So now if I check it off, it's going to be hidden from our task list here. Okay, great. So now what I want to do is focus on adding tasks. So if I click this button, and you can see kind of in Glide as you can edit by manipulating your app in the editor, and then the components here are going to change. So if we cancel, we go back to our page that we were on, where you can edit the collection here on the left. But then if we click this add button, now we are in the add item element. And what we're going to do is edit this because we don't want to allow users to select completed or not. We're just going to remove that on the left. So go up to the left under components, delete that. User ID, we're going to delete that as well because we don't want users to be able to enter that in. We want to automatically save that. So I'm going to delete that as well. Under name, I'm just going to go to the right side and change the label to task. So the column we're saving to here is name, but the design, the label here is going to be task. And I can even enter a placeholder like write your task. And then we also can change the size and we can make it larger. So maybe in our case, I'll make it medium. And then I'm also going to make it required because we need someone to fill out the task in order to actually submit this form. So now what I'm going to do is go and add a component to our form, but it's going to be a hidden component. So I'm going to go to values from user profile. This is going to allow us to send data through from the user profile. We created that row ID earlier. So if I just click row ID, now it's a hidden column, but the row ID is going to be passed through. And then on the right side, I just need to change this to user ID. So we're going to pass the row ID through to user ID. So now let's try it out. So if I say I want to go to the gym and submit, and also you can see I'm viewing the app as Seth Kramer, which is my name. So by default, it's going to have the user be you as the user. And if you have more users in your app, you can see what it looks like when other people are viewing it, which is really helpful. And I'm going to click submit. So there we go. Now the task go to the gym is shown. If we go into our data tab here, Under tasks, we see go to the gym is shown, it's not completed, and we have the user ID, and this is my user ID. So under users, this is my user ID, which is going to help us match it up and filter so only logged in users can see their own tasks. So I'm going to go back to the layout here. One thing I'm going to do under the collection is under the item data, for description, I'm just going to make it custom and leave it blank. So otherwise it was saying go to the gym, which we don't want. I just want it to be empty here. And you can see the checked, which is that check data, is pulling in from the completed Boolean that we added, which is exactly what we want. You can also change the design a little bit. I'm just going to leave that as it is for now. Okay, great. So now what we're going to do is filter these to-do lists so that it only shows for the signed in user. So to do that, we're going to go back to our options. We're going to filter our data again. So we're going to add a filter where, so we already have completed is not checked, and now underneath we're going to add another filter here. So we're going to filter where user ID is the user profile's row ID. There we go. So it's checking to see if the user that signed in's row ID is the user ID that we saved to that task. So now if we look at this as anyone, it's going to be hidden because it is only going to show the tasks that are associated with me as the user here. Okay, awesome. So we're getting very close. One thing I want to do is add a list of all my completed tasks as well. So I created my task list, and on the right side, what I'm going to do is just go over to the component, the left side, go over to the component, duplicate that item, click on the second one. I'm also going to double click and rename this. Click into it under collection and rename this as done, and then rename the top to do. And here, because we duplicated it, it's going to have all of the same settings that we had before, but the only thing we want to change is where completed is checked, and the user ID equals the row ID. So we're going to keep that user ID section, but change completed to is checked. Now if I go to the actions, there's one more thing I want to do. And under the title bar action, which is this title bar add, what I want to do is just remove that and have it be none. So basically, I only want users to be able to add from this to-do list collection. Otherwise, there would be two, and it might be a little bit confusing. So now, if I check off go to the gym, now it's going to show up here in our to-do list. But I just need to go, in our completed list. So under our completed collection, I'm going to click on it. Under general, the title, I'm going to change to, the title of the data here at the top, I'm going to change to completed tasks. And on the first one here, I'm going to change to to-do lists. Okay, great. So we have our to-do list and our completed tasks, and I can uncheck and check, and it's adding to the correct area here. So we are getting very close to publishing and completing our app. So if we go to our settings here, what I want you to do is go to privacy. You can check out appearance if you want. It's kind of an easy way to change the color scheme of your app. But privacy is really what I'm concerned about right now. So the default privacy settings here are only allowing users to access the app that are in the user table. So this would mean you would go to your user table and you would go to your data user table and you would manually add users here. You could also import users if you want. So this could be really helpful if you're building an internal app for your company and you only want specific users to be able to access your app. As you can see, there's also an area for access requests. So people would be able to request access to your app and then you could allow it. But in our case, what I want to do is go to privacy and I want to make it a public app. So anyone with the link can access the app. Then I want to keep it at required sign-in, which is going to require everyone who opens the app to have to sign into it first. Otherwise, you can set it up as no sign-in or optional sign-in. But the way we built our app with the user profile settings, we're going to require sign-in. Okay, great. So now go ahead and click Publish on the right, top right. Mine says Share, but you can go ahead and click Publish. And once you click Publish and confirm it, you're going to have this Share button here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the app link. And I opened it in a new browser, in an incognito browser. You could also open this on your phone to see what it looks like on your phone. But I'm going to go ahead and enter my email address and sign into this app. Okay, so I went ahead and signed in. If your PIN that you get doesn't show up in your email inbox, just check your spam folder just in case. So now I'm going to go ahead and add a task. And I can write my task, which is go to the gym, hit submit. And now here we go. We have our task list here. We can add another one, go for a run, and submit. And we have our task list. And I can check them off, and they go into our completed tasks. Okay, awesome. So if you've completed this tutorial, you've built a simple to-do list app using Glide, and you're starting to understand how Glide saves data, how you can set up data in Glide to only show for users that created that data, and you're starting to understand how to add filters around that data as well. So there's a lot of things that we could build on top of this to make it a much more complex app, but hopefully this is a great intro to Glide and is starting to make you think about the different use cases that you can use Glide for.